This next story is one that I think the more I read about it, the more confused I am. I don't know about you, Eamon. It is the Women's Olympics boxing row, and it's rumbling on because last night the Algerian boxer Emma Hilton successfully got through to Friday's final against China's Yang Liu.
The news comes after Kelly found herself at the centre of a gender debate. Now, that's made headlines. We're talking about it as a result of that. She was banned from competing in the World Championships, but allowed to attend the Olympics. Come on, let's have some consistency, you know, as regards all of this. Joined now by the developmental biologist and trustee of sex matters, Professor Emma Hilton, and discrimination barrister Robin Moira White.
Good morning to you both. It's important, I suppose, to stress at this point that Emma Hilton was born a female, raised a female. There are photographs of her as a child, and this is about her chromosomes and her hormones and all of that. So let's get into a bit of the science, first of all, with you, Professor Emma Hilton. What is the problem? She has raised levels of testosterone, which is perceived to give her an unfair advantage. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's important to think that we're talking about sex here, not gender. What we do know is that Khalif has XY chromosomes. There are reports of high testosterone. So this tells us that Khalif has male biology. And that is independent, perhaps, of legal documentation or how Khalif feels about identities. And what we know is that we don't usually let males box against females. The boxing federations have been unanimously clear on this because of safety risks. But the IOC are trying to tell us that that doesn't matter, that males can actually be in a boxing ring against females as long as their legal documents say that they're female. And that's creating a big problem now when we think about safety for athletes.
OK, well, let's bring in Robin Moira White in all of this, because it is such a difficult one. There are those people that say she shouldn't be questioned in this way. It's all so crude. What's your position in it?
Well, I mean, obviously you're right about that. Having a debate about an individual on, feeding them into the meat grinder of social media and the media generally is not the right way to deal with matters like this. We actually, to be fair, Emma, I'm not sure we really know what Emma Khalif's circumstances are. People think they know. A number of statements have been made in the public domain, but he is a particular individual. I think we can talk more generally and recognise that there are a category of people with what are called DSDs, differences of sexual development, who are on that cusp of male and female. And the right outcome in terms of the individual or their participation in sport will depend on, crucially, on the detail of that circumstance.
Yeah. But Robin, the blame here,
quietly and calmly and directly. Where
we're not getting a lead is from the boxing authorities themselves, and the fact is that they have only themselves to blame about this because.
Well, you've got this awful dispute, haven't you, between the IOC and the IBA, the Russian-led federation. And for example, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but it is said by some people that the series of sex tests applied to the pair of boxers was motivated by the fact that they'd just beaten a pair of Russian boxers, and it was used in a particular way. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. I don't think we know. But what is definitely wrong is the way in which this is being played out.
Yeah, well, I can see you trying to say something there, Professor Hilton.
No, I just think that we're spending, and we could spend some time talking about the administration, the fighting and the tension between federations here. But really, we need to start coming back to some very basic scientific facts when we're starting to understand about fairness and, in the case of boxing, safety. I actually agree with Robin. I think we need to pull away from individualised attacks. I think that having athletes under this kind of spotlight in the media is not fair. And I think that we do need to start thinking about
it is fair, Robin. Emma, it is fair. And if you were in the ring opposite Khalif, you would change your opinion. The thing is, if she has male characteristics, if she's got the muscle mass of a male and whatever, she should not be in that ring. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I'm saying it's unfair that this kind of debate is being played out in the media spotlight when it's all focused on one athlete. There is a very simple way to get around this, and this is to do this kind of testing early on before an athlete is in the spotlight, to do it in a non-targeted way, to submit everyone who wants to compete in the female category for a simple cheek swab or blood test to confirm that they're eligible for that category.
And what would that be testing for in the cheek swab? Because she has undergone, Emma Hilton, the Olympic Committee's tests.
No, their tests.
There aren't any.
Their tests aren't any. They look at your passport, and if it says if you were.
So what would the swab show? Is this going to show levels of hormones, or is it DNA and chromosomes, or what would you get from that?
A swab will tell you chromosomes, and you can use those chromosomes to analyse the DNA more deeply. A blood test will give you both DNA and hormone readouts.
And is this a similar... I mean, I know you don't want to talk about individuals, but a lot of people remember the case of the South African Caster Semenya, and she was banned from competing because she had elevated levels of testosterone. Would you agree with that decision in her case?
Yes, Caster Semenya has male biology, and I don't think that we can allow that into the female category. We need to preserve fairness, and in this case, safety. Now, the DSD that Caster Semenya has is very likely to be the candidates that we're thinking about here. Those DSDs where someone might be born and might be observed to be a girl, but actually all of their internal biology is male, and that's what gives men advantage.
And Robin, so complicated when you think of it like that. We're not talking that this woman is transgender or anything like that, just to make that clear to people. But it's complex, goodness me, isn't it?
Well, I think where it leads us, and one of the dangers it leads us to, is policing appearance and saying, by looking at somebody, we can make a judgment. That's absolutely wrong.
Yes, that is wrong, my friend. But as I said before, if she's in the ring with a female opponent and her muscle mass is different, her strength is different, her reach is different, she's got more male characteristics than female.
If that's because of the DSD, then that's certainly one thing. But of course, athletes, successful athletes, select for people with unusual characteristics. We don't have small, dumpy high jumpers, for example. So I think Emma and I are very close on this, that this is a complex circumstance that needs to be dealt with out of the spotlight.
Okay, but could I ask both of you, do you believe that Khalif, do you both believe, I'll ask you separately, do you believe that Khalif should be taking part in that final? Does she deserve to be in the ring the way things stand, or has more testing to be done?
I don't know what her personal circumstances are, so I can't answer that question without knowing the science.
Okay. And what about you, Emma?
I would argue that because this is boxing, we need to have the utmost of precaution here. And I think there is more testing to be done before we can allow Khalif back into the ring.
Thank you both very much indeed. Very interesting. I'm not sure we progress much with that, but we hear exactly what you're saying, and this is a subject that isn't going to go away in the next few months. Thank you both.